Fenway. Fenway.
Fenway.
Go back to Fenway!
Probably can't hit the ball out of Fenway.
The Sox at Fenway.
Is Fenway the one with the big green wall in left field?
Hello to all 1,393 of you. The Fenway neighborhood is not just a popular neighborhood in Boston, but you can make the case that the Fenway neighborhood is one of the most popular neighborhoods in all the United States. And it's so much more than just Fenway and the Sitco sign. We'll be diving into how this neighborhood was born, the sights, the entertainment, and the food, which makes this neighborhood one of a kind. The year is 1873. At this time, the town of Brookline had grown from a town of rural farmers, has now grown into being a popular, almost neighborhood of Boston for wealthy individuals such as lawyers, businessmen, and other highly educated professionals from Boston. Up until this point, Boston was growing. Literally, they were growing by annexing other suburbs. What is annexation? It is the process of adding territory to one's own territory, and Boston was on a tear. They annexed Roxbury in 1868, Dorchester in 1870, then Charlestown, Brighton, and West Roxbury in 1873. Now, Brookline was on the list. Okay, don't think of this as Boston coming in and invading these suburbs. That's not the case. These towns actually stood much benefit to join Boston. Many of the people who lived in these towns also worked in Boston, and the ways that they would benefit would be by sharing city resources like water supply and sewage. So like I said, they had much to gain by joining Boston. But unlike other towns, Brookline was not on board.
I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm better. I am better!
At this time, Brookline had such a strong upper class, absolutely no middle class, and then they had lower class Irishmen living in these marshy lands in Brookline. Brookline believed that they didn't need Boston's help and stood a chance as their own city. Brookline ultimately voted against annexation.
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
But somehow Boston got that little marshy, stinky part where a bunch of the lower class Irishmen lived. So yes, of course, Brookline gave up the worst part of their town, which is really a Brookline move if you're from here. Fast forward to 1878, and now this land has grown en masse with landfills and the help of Frederick Olmsted Law, who helped create what is known as the Emerald Necklace, a 7-mile parkway system of parks, rivers, ponds, and greenery that run throughout Boston, from the Public Garden to Franklin Park. And the Public Garden was America's first public park in 1837. Frederick Law Olmsted, aka Flo. No one called him Flo, right? Back in the day, that's what he would have been called today, Flo. But we'll still call him by his full name, Frederick Law Olmsted. Frederick Law Olmsted was also the man behind Central Park in New York, and many other projects ranging from Niagara Falls all the way to Palo Alto. Frederick Law Olmsted's project helped clean up the marshy lands, which became known as the Back Bay Fens or the Fens. Hence, we get the name, the Fenway. Now, since we're talking about names, let's talk about street names. The street names of West Fenway were influenced by the Robert Burns Memorial Foundation, and they named the streets in West Fenway after Scottish cities from his literary works. Hence, we have Petersburg, Kilmarnock, and Queensbury. And the street system of the Back Bay, which named streets after famous dukes, continued into Fenway, with streets like Ipswich and Lansdowne. Now, all of a sudden, people are starting to see the vision and the potential of the Fenway. (1898), after her husband's death, Isabella Gardner Stewart, art collector and philanthropist, purchased land in the Fenway to build a museum with a courtyard to be modeled like the Renaissance palaces of Venice. The museum opened in 1903, and by 2020, the museum had a documentary on Netflix about the largest art heist in world history, which occurred in 1990 on St. Patrick's Day, with over $500 million of estimated artwork that was stolen that day.
Say what?
And the mystery still remains unsolved. While the museum was being built in 1990, The main base of the Boston Symphony Orchestra also moved to the Fenway. By 1907, you had 9 colleges and universities moved to the Fenway, including Boston University, Simmons University, Wentworth Institute of Technology, the Boston Conservatory of Berklee Music, and of course, Northeastern University. Later on, Harvard Medical School also made the move to the Fenway. Also in this year, the Museum of Fine Arts moves next to the Isabella Gardner Museum, and they moved from Copley Square to the Fenway. Guys, we need to cut and realize this. Just 30 years before this point, the Fenway was just a stinky marshland. 30 years later, we have universities, colleges, museums, and the Boston Symphony Orchestra all moving there and being built. That is insane considering the era. They did not have laptops, phones, emailing back then, but somehow they were able to get it done and they did it really well. We gotta give credit where credit is due. The Fenway was booming. In 1911, enter John Taylor, a publisher at the Boston Globe. His brother and father were also big publishers at the Boston Globe. John Taylor became principal owner of the Boston Red Sox in 1904. And this is when he looked into the Fenway and saw everything that was being built and everything happening. And then he looked at the Fenway and said to himself, you know what this place needs? A f***ing baseball field. Okay, maybe he didn't say it exactly like that, but he did end up purchasing land smack dab in the middle of the neighborhood to build what is now known as Fenway Park. So he moved the Red Sox from Huntington Avenue baseball grounds to Fenway Park. By 1912, Fenway Park played their first game and saw the Red Sox beat the Yankees in extra innings, 7-6. This is very random, but it was also the same week that the Titanic sunk. 1919, Boston Hotel Buckminster was the site of the famous Black Sox scandal. This is where a player of the White Sox named Chick Gandel and a Boston bookie named Joe Sports Sullivan met and planned to throw the 1919 World Series for a total of $80,000. That's the equivalent of $1.4 million today. And honestly, it doesn't even sound like that much to throw a whole World Series, but at the time you have to realize that players weren't getting all these other incentives. So that was actually a lot of money. But yes, that deal happened at Hotel Buckminster, which is just a 2-minute walk from Fenway Park. 1920, we have the Curse of the Bambino, which ended in 2004.
Back to Folk. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions.
Now, in 1928, we have the Landmark Center, built by Sears, Roebuck and Company. This was a mailing and shipping warehouse for their company Sears. Now think of this of a 1928 warehouse version of Amazon, but today it has been transformed to an amazing food hall called Time Out Boston, which hosts a variety of good food, perfect for a big group outing. More on this later. 1947, the left field wall in Fenway Park was now painted green and officially named the Green Monster.
Fly ball to left. This ball is off the monster. 1 run scores.
Fast forward to today, and now the Fenway is actually home to 45,000 residents. Not bad for what used to be a stinky marshland. The Fenway has and continues to go through revival and redevelopment. You'll see construction all times of the year. I've been living in Boston for 4 years, and I don't think I've seen one day without construction in the Fenway. Actually, I know that's a fact. So now let's get into what Fenway is like today and how it is to live in the Fenway. Today, a wide variety of people live in the Fenway, a lot of students, as you can imagine, as there are many colleges nearby, as well as a lot of people who work and study in Longwood Medical Center, which is just a quick walk over the Emerald Necklace. In my mind, you can divide the Fenway into 3 different areas. Number 1, you have Symphony. This would be considered the east side of the Fenway and is known for its musical culture because why? We have Boston Symphony Orchestra there, as well as Berklee College of Music. It is normal to see a bunch of students carrying violins, guitars, tubas, everything. And actually, when you walk down the streets, you could probably even hear students practicing in that area. And if you go into the Nero Cafe, you'll also hear students talking about performances or planning trips for music. Everything is about music there. Now, West Fenway is what you think of as the Fenway neighborhood. That's where you have a lot of the modernization. This area was built up. It has taller buildings, a lot of restaurants and shopping in that area. and it is very, very walkable. Everything happens between the streets of Boylston and Brookline. If you lived here, you probably go to Star Market for your groceries and find yourself in Target many times. Just make sure you go to Target before September 1st because that is when all the students move in, and I'm not joking. If you need any toiletries or anything, you better get it before September 1st because those shelves will be empty for weeks after September 1st, and those lines will be very, very long. Anyone who lives there knows what I'm talking about. And the third part is actually not part of the Fenway, but it's called Kenmore, but you'll see Fenway and Kenmore go hand in hand most times. And this area is actually an area between the Back Bay and the Fenway, and you can actually tell because of the Victorian style homes in Kenmore Square are very similar to Back Bay. Fenway is very expensive relative to any neighborhood in the United States. However, it can be considered a less expensive neighborhood in Boston. So let's talk about real estate in Boston. How much is it gonna cost to buy a condo in Boston? Well, first off, the Fenway is actually considered a very small neighborhood, so you don't really see that much on the market, and a lot of the properties are rented out. A one-bedroom condo in the Fenway costs between $400,000 and $600,000 with a median price of $525,000, and the median size of these condos are about 550 square feet. The highest priced one-bedroom condo right now is actually located at the Pierce, which is 762 square feet and listed at $1.3 million. If you're interested in buying, definitely let me know. If you're looking for a two-bedroom condo, you can expect to pay between $700,000 and $900,000. If you're looking at the $700,000 range, that's probably the second bedroom being kind of small. For a three-bedroom condo, not so many of those pop up on the market, so they definitely range in terms of quality and square footage. But based on last month, there was only a few on the market, and by few, I mean 3, ranging between $800,000 and $1.5 million. And if you're looking for a 4-bedroom condo to buy, you're out of luck. There's none on the market. Like I said, investing in the Fenway can be a really good idea because you have so many students and so many people who are working nearby at Longwood Medical Center. So what about renting in Fenway? If you're looking for a 1-bedroom, you're probably going to spend around $2,700 to $3,000. For a 2-bedroom, you're probably looking between $3,800 and $4,400. Now, the Fenway does have high-end rental buildings with amenities. I'm talking about buildings like the Harlow or the Bower, or sometimes you even see rentals in the Pierce. So those 1-bedrooms can be between $4,500 and $4,700 per month, while a 2-bedroom would be $5,700 to $6,000 per month. Fenway is a very walkable neighborhood. You probably don't need a car if you live there because you have several options with the T. Depending on which side of the Fenway you live on, you can either use the C or the E line. And these modes of public transportation will take you straight into the city. If you need to get to the airport with public transportation, it will take you 40 minutes. However, if you just hopped into a cab or an Uber, it could take you less than 10 minutes depending on traffic. But expect it to take you 15 to 20 minutes plus more during rush hour. So let's talk about my favorite part of the video, things to see and do in the Fenway. So some of these things we already talked about, but we have to start here, Fenway Park. The oldest active baseball stadium in America is here. Not only do they host MLB games, but sometimes they have a hockey game outside during the winter, as well as an awesome summer concert series that you could count on every summer. And we mentioned all the different museums that you can go to as well. There's also the Rose Garden, which blooms in the summer. It's an awesome area right in the middle of the city, part of the fence. So now let's talk about food. You'll have plenty of options for food in the Fenway. Some of my favorite or go-to restaurants in the Fenway is El Pelon, and make sure you order their burrito. It's called the El Guapo. It comes with fried plantains. So good. Sweet Cheese is another place. It's barbecue. Their bucket of biscuits are famous, so make sure you check that out as well. There are also several options for burgers like Boston Burger Company, Wall Burgers, and Tasty Burger. So if you're looking for this crazy big burger, that's where you go to Boston Burger Company. If you're looking for a good cheap burger, that is Tasty Burger, and then you have Wall Burgers, which is owned by Mark Wahlberg. Other recommendations would be Tate. They have awesome pastries. That's good for coffee, pastries, breakfast, and shashuka. Or if you're with a bunch of people from out of town, definitely check out Time Out Boston because it's a food court with so many options that there's bound to be something for everyone. the atmosphere is very cool, especially with Night Shift Brewery just located outside. So that concludes my video of the Fenway. We're gonna come out with more neighborhood videos. Definitely check those out. And if you haven't already, give this video a like and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.